All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. We got another game for you here today as we have the Boston Red Sox against the Washington Senators. If you're new with us and wondering why in the world we're playing with the 1908 Red Sox, they're 6-2 in first place in the American League. They have lost 2 in a row, but that's the reason why we're showcasing them now, because they've been playing well recently and they're still in first place. And here comes Doc Gessler, and the Red Sox hope to turn things around. He rolls a 54 for a 45. That's a fly ball over to Clymer in right field. There's one out, and here's McConnell. Amby rolls a 62 for a 12, and that's a little comebacker over to Freeman, the first baseman, who grabs that himself and takes it to the bag, and there are 2 away. And here comes Gavy Kravitz. He rolls a 25 for an 8, and that's a single to left center. First hit of the game for the Red Sox brings up Harry Lord. He will roll a 43 for a 29. That's a comebacker over to Keeley. Throws over to the shortstop McBride covering for the out. Actually, I'm sorry. No, he throws over to Freeman at first for the out. Either way, it works. Go to the bottom of the first. Here's Jim Delahanty. He will roll a 41 for a 28. That's a ground ball over to Wagner. Heine Wagner throws to first for the first out. Clyde Milan now rolls a 26 for a 30, and there's a fly ball over to Gainley and left. 2 away. Here's Jerry Freeman. He rolls a 35 for a 37. Changes to 39. Same thing either way. It's a strike. Next roll is a 55 for an 8, and that's going to be a fly ball over to Sullivan, the center fielder, and we go to the top of the second. Nothing happening. Bob Unglaub now rolls a 62 for a 12. That's a little ground ball over to Freeman. Does it himself at first for the first out. Heine Wagner now rolls a 25 for an 8, and there's a single to left center field. Here's Denny Sullivan. He rolls a 65 for a 35, and that's a pop-up over to Street, the catcher. 2 away, and here's Lou Krieger. He rolls a 52 for a 27. That's a ground ball over to third base. The third baseman, where is he? Shipka. There we go. Flips over to Delahanty at second for the out. We go to the bottom of the second. Here's Bob Gainley. He'll roll a 23 for a 32. Fly ball over to right field, and it is Gessler who has that for the first out. Here's Otis Clymer. He'll roll a 24 for a 13. It's the first strikeout of the game for Cy Young, who I didn't mention is pitching. 2 away for Bill Shipka. He rolls an 11 for a 1. The next roll is a 14 for a 7, so that's a base hit for Shipka, who goes double column hunting, and all he comes up with is a lousy base hit. Next up is George McBride, rolls a 36 for a 33. That's a pop-up over to Lord, the third baseman. He makes the grab, and we go to the top of the third. Here's Cy Young. Young rolls a 61 for a 13, and he strikes out. Doc Gessler now rolls a 63 for a 31. That is a fly ball over to center field, and it's Milan who has it for the second out. Amby McConnell rolls a 24 for a 13, another strikeout. That's the second strikeout by Keeley. Go to the bottom of the third. Gabby Street rolls a 24 for a 13. That's a strikeout. Young gets his second strikeout. Here's Bert Keeley, who probably will strike out. He does. Rolls a 46 for a 13. Strikeout number 3 for Young. Here's Jim Delahanty. He'll roll a 52 for a 27. That's a ground ball over to third base. It's Lord who has it. Throws to first for the out. We go to the top of the fourth. Gavy Kravitz, and he rolls a 40 for a foul ball. He's still up there, rolls a 44 for an 8, and there's a single to left center field. Now there's something that might be cooking. We're going to take a quick look at Kravitz before we do something silly. Yeah, we're not going to do a hit and run. We're just going to swing away here with Harry Lord. Runner on first base, he rolls a 32 for a 26. We probably should have hit and run. It's a ground ball over to second base. Delahanty flips it over to McBride and on to first to Freeman for the twin killing. Here is Bob Unglaub now, top of the fourth inning, nobody on. He rolls a 62 for a 12. That's a ground ball over to Freeman, the first baseman who does it himself. Bottom of the fourth, Clyde Milan now rolls a 21 for a 30. There's a fly ball to Kravitz, the left fielder, for the first out. Here's Jerry Freeman, who rolls a 13 for a 14. He gets the walk. That brings up Gainley, now runner on first base. And he rolls a 12 for a 24. That's a ground ball over to Wagner, the shortstop, flips over to McConnell for 1. They try for a second at first, but Gainley beats it out. Clymer now rolls a 12 for a 24, and that's a ground ball over to Wagner, who flips it to McConnell, and they get the 4. So we go to the top of the fifth. Exciting game, nothing happening. And Wagner rolls a 54 for a 45, and there is a little E-roll, and that rolls a 41. That will be a fly ball over to Clymer, the right fielder, for the first out. Denny Sullivan now. He will roll a 44 for an 8, and that's a clean single for Sullivan. He does have an 11 with Krieger up there, though I think we're actually going to bunt instead of doing the hit and run. The roll is a 55 for an 8, and it's a good bunt. It's back to Keeley, who throws over to the second baseman, Delahanty, covering at first for the second out. It brings up Cy Young, not much of a hitter, with a chance to get something happening. He rolls a 35 for a 13 for a strikeout. We go to the bottom of the fifth inning, still no score. Shipka, first roll, rolls an 11 for a 0, and then a 62 for a 6, and finds himself on second base. And here he is with George McBride up there. McBride is actually going to swing away instead of bunting. because I'm not so sure about Street. He rolls a 62 for a 12, and that's a strikeout. That's strikeout number 4 by Cy Young, and here comes Gabby Street. Maybe we could have bunted with him. I'm not sure. Street rolls a 12 for a 24. There's a little pop-up over to Heine Wagner, the shortstop, for the second out, and here comes Keeley now with 2 outs, and they're about to waste that double. He rolls a 45 for a 14, and there is a walk. So runners on first and second now for Jim Delahanty. Delahanty rolls a 12 for a 24. There's a ground ball over to McConnell, who flips it on over to Wagner at short. We go to the top of the 6th. Still no score. Gessler now rolls a 64 for a 40. That's going to be a foul. Next rolls a 66 for a 0. Let's see what Doc can do. Next is a 26 for a 12, or for a 2, sorry. There is a chance. 11 to 22 would have been a home run, but unfortunately for him, we roll a 23, so it remains a 6. That puts Gessler there on at second base with Amby McConnell up. And now this is probably the first real chance of the game because the Red Sox have the heart of the order coming up. We're going to swing away, and this is going to be a 62 for a 12, and that's another strikeout. So a lot of bad rolls here so far. 4 strikeouts for Keeley. Gabby Kravitz now. He rolls a 54 for a 45, and we do have the little E roll. That's going to be a 22. That's within the error range. That changes to a 15. That means it's a fly ball over to Ganley in left field, and he misplays that one, and that is going to go down for an error. And this one has the potential perhaps to do some damage to the Senators and their hopes in this game. But we don't know yet for sure. There's always that potential, though, and what they say when there's a chance. So Kravitz is able to make it to first base by hook or by crook, and that means that the next man up here is Harry Lord, and we have a little bit of decision to make. What does Unglaub look like? What is this card like? Unglaub, a slightly better hitter than Lord, which tells you I probably should rejigger the lineups a little bit. We will bunt with Lord and give Unglaub a chance. And, of course, the roll is a 66, and I'm going to look like a absolute fool for doing this, and the next roll is a 21 for a 6. And so that 6, a double, which would have scored 2, ends up being wasted. Instead, it is a bunt over to Shipka at third base, who throws over to Delahanty, covering at first for the out. That means that we have 2 away now, and that'll bring up Unglaub, and let's see if we can get another good roll from him. The reason for that, the reason why we decided to bunt there instead of just swinging away was fear of the double play, and we were able to get out of the double play. It's a good bunt. It's a good bunt result, but when you go double columns, you kind of are hoping for some power instead of just tapping the ball forward. Here's Bob Unglaub. He'll roll a 16 for a 28, and you can forget about that. There's a ground ball over to McBride, throws to first for the out. We go to the bottom of the 6th. Here's Clyde Milan. He rolls a 55 for an 8. There is a ground ball over to Wagner, throws to first for the out. 1 away is Jerry Freeman. He rolls a 41 for a 28. Another ground ball over to Wagner, 2 away. Bob Ganley now. He'll roll a 41 for a 28. Another ground ball to short on the first for the out, and we go to the top of the 7th. Heine Wagner up there. Rolls a 42 for a 23. That's changed to 40. That'll be a foul. His next roll is a 23 for a 32, which is a fly ball to Clymer in right field. There's 1 away. Here's Denny Sullivan. He rolls a 14 for a 43. Fly ball over to Ganley and left this time. 2 outs. Here's Lou Krieger. He'll roll a 66 for a 0. His next roll is a 26 for a 6. That's going to be a double for Krieger, and that brings up Cy Young with a runner on second. I'm not sure much will happen here. Young rolls a 42 for a 13 and strikes out again. I think he's struck out 3 times so far. We go to the bottom of the 7th inning. And this is Otis Clymer, who rolls a 64 for a 13. Cy Young picks up his 5th strikeout. Bill Shipka now. He rolls a 63 for a 30. That's a fly ball over to Kravitz in left field, 2 away. And here is George McBride. McBride rolls a 62 for a 12, and here's the little E roll. It's a 25 out of the range, and that's going to be a ground ball over to Unglaub, the first baseman, who gets that and goes to the bag himself. We go to the top of the 8th. Doc Gessler. This is exciting. Gessler rolls a 53 for a 16. That's actually changed to a 22, which doesn't do him much favor. It's a ground ball to Freeman, who throws over to Keeley, covering a first for the out. 1 away. Here's Amby McConnell. McConnell rolls a 66 for a 0, and the second roll is a 32, which will be an 11. It's a single for McConnell, who then steals second base, and that brings up Gabby Kravitz with a chance to really do something here. And his roll is a 41 for a 28. That's a ground ball over to McBride, the shortstop, throws over to first for the out. Now there's 2 away, and here's Harry Lord. And poor Lord, who bunted last time, should have swung away. He rolls a 26 for a 30, and that magic's gone. It's a fly ball to Ganley on left, and we go to the bottom of the 8th. Here's Gabby Street. Street rolls a 13 for a 36. That'll be a ball. His next roll is a 16 for a 26, and that's going to be a ground ball over to McConnell. McConnell, the second baseman, throws to first for the out. One away is Bert Keeley. Keeley rolls a 32 for a 26, another ground ball to McConnell, throws to first for the out. Two away is Jim Delahanty. He rolls a 44 for a 7, and there's a base hit, only base hit number 3 off of Cy Young in this, and that brings up Clyde Milan. And Milan will roll a 21 for a 30. That's a fly ball over to center field. Sullivan has it for the out. We go to the top of the 9th inning, still no score. Bob Unglaub rolls a 62 for a 12, and that's a ground ball over to Freeman. The first baseman does it himself. One away, here's Wagner. He rolls a 22 for an 8, and there's a single to left center field. Finally, something is happening. Wagner does have the 11. We are going to hit and run here. Question is bunt or hit and run. We'll hit and run with Denny Sullivan and see what we can do. I'm not even counting the number of 31s he has. He only has the 1. This might be a bad idea, but let's do it anyway. And he rolls a 66, and this ends up being a good idea. And his next roll is a 65 for an 8. What an awful double column roll that one was for Denny Sullivan. It ends up being a base hit, thankfully, since we went to double columns for all of that trouble. But an 8 is not really kind of what we were hoping for there. Not exactly the best result. Runners on first and third with 1 out. We're going to pull the infield in with Lou Krieger up there, who you know is going to have to bunt. We are not going to put the safety squeeze on. We're going to take a chance. We're going to take a chance and sort of take this game to the defense, and his roll is a 15 for a 9, and that is a successful bunt over to Freeman, who has to go, the first baseman has to go to Delahanty for the out, and that scores 1, and finally a run has come across. So here in the top of the 9th inning, the Red Sox finally score a run, the first run of the ball game, and it's a manufactured run as Krieger has to get the bunt down to score the run. 2 outs now, and here's Cy Young, the pitcher, who, of course, is staying in. He rolls a 43 for a 29. That's a ground ball over to Freeman. The first baseman flips it over to Keeley, the pitcher, for the out. We go to the bottom of the 9th inning. Here's Jerry Freeman. He rolls a 53 for a 20, and that's going to be an error. That's an error on McConnell, the second baseman, and the Senators have a chance here. They have an opportunity. So here in the bottom of the 9th inning with nobody out, there's a runner on first base. He's slow in Jerry Freeman, but the Senators are going to have Gainley up and then Clymer, and we're going to take a quick look here. And we don't really want to do anything that's too out of the ordinary, and we might want to bunt. In fact, I think that I will bunt, and I know that might be a little controversial. Now, I know in real life they probably would have bunted in this situation. Let's see what happens. The roll is a 65 for a 35. There is a little E roll. Little E roll is a 23, which is within the range, and so that's changed to a 22, which is an error on the catcher. That's on Krieger, and that's a 2-base error on him. A really wild throw by Krieger as he was trying to make the play himself, and that's error number 2 in the inning on the Red Sox. And now the Red Sox have a problem. And now we really have to look at this and think about what we're doing. So the next man up here is Otis Clymer. After Clymer is Shipka, and I'll give you a little look at what he looks like. And then comes McBride, and then comes Street. So the question is, who do we want to pitch to? I think that what we want to do, and I know that this is what we're going to do, is we're going to walk Clymer. So we're going to issue the intentional walk to Clymer. We'll go ahead and take the photo here of the page. It doesn't really matter what the dice roll was. We have, and it would have been a 35 for a 40, which likely would have been an unusual play and might have caused something sort of odd to happen. So we decide to do this. We're going to walk Clymer. Now, we can take a quick look here, if you want, over at the Senators' bench. Altazer, Cahoe, Pickering might be someone to put in, and then John Warner. All right, let's take a quick look here. Pickering, Warner's is a backup catcher. Pickering's an outfielder. We could put Altazer in if we really wanted to, but he's not much better than Shipka. I don't think Pickering is that much better either. Warner's the one that I'm sort of thinking about, but we'll have him in for Street if it gets down to that point. Infield's going to come in, and we're not going to bunt here. We're going to actually swing away. Knowing that the worst thing that can happen is a double play, but we're hoping that Shipka just hits the ball out of the infield. and the roll is a 44 for an A, and that's going to win the ball game. That's a single through short, and that one it scores 2 runs. Runners advance 2 bases, and Shipka gets the lucky roll, and just like that, the Senators improved to 3-5. The Red Sox are now 6-3. I think they've fallen out of first place with this loss. And 1908 is a very, very close season, isn't it? Hope that you enjoyed that game. That was a lot of fun. That was pretty quick and very dramatic. And I'll see you tomorrow with another one. Bye.